Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Darragh Ennis had always been a fan of Taskmaster. Not just a casual viewer who caught the occasional episode during downtime. No, he was a full-blown superfan. Since the first season, he'd watched every task, every awkward meltdown, every moment of chaotic brilliance from the likes of Noel Fielding, Catherine Ryan, and James Acaster. He loved the blend of comedy, absurdity, and unfiltered personality. But more than anything, he loved puzzles, and Taskmaster, at its core, was a series of puzzles disguised in ridiculousness. So when an anonymous Reddit user asked during an AMA, Darragh, would you ever go on Taskmaster? He didn't even hesitate. In a heartbeat, he typed back, I'd love to be on Taskmaster. I'm ready for the call. The comment blew up. Within hours, hashtags like fans imagined the calm, precise intellect of the chaser being tested against Alex Horne's deadpan instructions and Greg Davies' chaotic whims. A campaign began. Even Richard Osman tweeted, Darragh on Taskmaster would be like a chess grandmaster trying to win at Hungry Hippos. I'd watch the hell out of that. And yet, the call never came. A few months later, Darragh sat in his quiet Oxford home, sipping a cup of rooibos tea and reading The Guardian. A small article caught his eye. New lineup for Taskmaster Series 17 announced. Surprise guests and old favourites return. He scrolled eagerly. Surely this was it. Joe Brand, Romesh Ranganathan, a viral TikTok comedian he'd never heard of, and no Darragh. Not even a whisper of a scientist. Not even a quizzer. His heart sank a little. He hadn't expected to be on it immediately, but still, the omission stung. His wife Oif walked in, noticed the furrow in his brow, and smiled sympathetically. You're looking at that lineup again, aren't you? I just don't get it, he muttered. I've been open. I've got a fan campaign. I've got media people tweeting about me. What else do I need to do? Maybe, Oif said, gently, you're too efficient. That stuck with him. One evening, while filming an episode of The Chase, Darragh found himself chatting with Bradley Walsh in the green room. They were mid-banter, bouncing off jokes, when the topic surfaced. I tell you what, mate, Bradley said between chuckles, you'd be brilliant on Taskmaster. You think? I know. But they won't have you. Darragh blinked. What do you mean? Bradley leaned forward, lowering his voice like he was sharing a state secret. They don't want someone who thinks. They want chaos. Drama. People pouring soup into their shoes. Darragh laughed. I can pour soup in my shoes. No, Bradley said, shaking his head. You'd pour it, then calculate fluid displacement, assess the temperature gradient, and deliver a witty commentary about the viscosity of lentils. That's not what they want. Darragh went silent, and in that moment he realized Bradley might be right. The next morning, Darragh stood in front of a whiteboard in his home office. Written at the top in red marker was, How TOBC Omen Taskmaster Material. He broke it down into segments. Unpredictability. Must appear slightly unhinged. Lack of logic. Train self to ignore obvious solutions. Impulse control. Disable entirely. Weird outfits. Invest in bows and sequined trousers. He even downloaded old episodes and studied previous contestants. When Oif entered the room and found him watching a compilation of Joe Wilkinson trying to build a sausage tower while crying, she said gently, Please tell me this is for research. I need to learn chaos, he muttered. He began practicing. His family witnessed it first. At breakfast, he pour milk into a flower pot and eat cereal with a chopstick. Oif nearly called a doctor. At the gym, he wore 3 pairs of shorts, one inside out, and said it was to confuse the treadmill. In the supermarket, he tried to calculate how many bananas would fit into a standard sedan, loudly, using 2 different accents. Soon, tabloids picked it up. Is Darragh Ennis okay? Daily Mail. The Menace goes mad. The Sun. Quiz star loses it over comedy show rejection. Metro. And still no call. Finally, a break came. Darragh received an email from Avalon Entertainment. He opened it with trembling hands. Hi Darragh, we love your energy and would love to invite you for a brief chat with our Taskmaster team to discuss future possibilities. It was a maybe, but it was something. He showed up to the Avalon offices in a tie-dye blazer and oven mitts. He brought a pineapple named Philip as a support fruit. Alex Horn looked amused. Greg Davies? Less so. Greg glanced at him for a long time before muttering, Is this real? Darragh beamed. I'm chaotic now. Alex smiled. You know we don't actually need contestants to pretend to be eccentric, right? Darragh blinked. Wait, you don't? Greg sighed. Look, Darragh, you're brilliant. One of the sharpest minds on telly. And we mean that. But that's kind of the issue. Alex nodded. We admire you. But you're just too good. You'd game the system. Break the magic. Find loopholes we didn't know existed. We've seen what you did on Beat the Chasers, Greg added. You scare us. That night, Darragh sat in his garden with a beer in hand, staring at the stars. Too smart for Taskmaster, he muttered. Imagine that. Oif joined him, silent at first, before resting her head on his shoulder. Maybe it's not about fitting in, she whispered. Maybe it's about being who you are. Logic, brilliance, and pineapple-free. He chuckled. I think I miss being normal. Then be the best you, and leave the sock puppets to Noel Fielding. Months later, Darragh received another email from Avalon. Alex is developing a new concept, a strategic Taskmaster spin-off, focused on logic, deduction, and creative problem-solving. We want you to co-host it with Alex. A hybrid of game show and bring teaser chills. Task Professor. Darragh cried. Not because he'd be on Taskmaster, but because the universe had found a place for someone like him. Task Professor debuted with a minimalist set and maximum brainpower. Contestants ranged from Oxford dons to cryptic crossword champions. Each episode felt like a blend of MIT problem-solving and absurd British wit. Alex Horn kept the silly spirit alive by throwing bizarre curveballs. Solve a Rubik's Cube while singing sea shanties, deduce a pattern using only shadows, explain Schrodinger's cat with sock puppets. Darragh, equal parts master and mischief maker, was in his element. His scientific commentary balanced Alex's surreal improvisations. Ratings soared. Fans adored it. One critic wrote, Who knew logic could be this fun? Ennis brings a genius-level twist to every task. It's like Taskmaster's clever cousin showed up to class in a lab coat and clown shoes. Greg Davies appeared on episode 6 as a surprise contestant. It was a tongue-in-cheek nod to the original rejection. After finishing third in a task where he had to stack books using only marshmallows and gravity, Greg stood beside Darragh and said to the camera, Ladies and gentlemen, I stand corrected. The man is chaos and control. He didn't need Taskmaster. He needed his own throne. Darragh blushed on national TV. Twitter exploded. 2 years on, Task Professor was renewed for a 4th season. Merchandise lined shelves. University societies adopted it for brainy socials. And Taskmaster, still going strong, but now occasionally referencing the professor, with Alex Horne giving secret nods to his former auditionee. Darragh Ennis, not a Taskmaster contestant, but something even better. The founder of a new legacy where cleverness and creativity ruled side by side. Because in the end, it wasn't about fitting into chaos. It was about building a kingdom where logic was the madness.